they only found out I was deaf when I was about 2 years old. People get a bit nervous around disability for some reason, and it's just about sort of saying to them, listen, this is how I communicate. Scored my first England Deaf try. First game, first try. I think it's just the honour of putting on that England shirt.
You alright, Eleanor? How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you for asking. How are you doing?
I'm very well as well. Welcome to the Chinwag podcast and my YouTube channel.
Thank you.
So, first of all, introduce yourself to the viewers, what you do. Go for it.
Okay. Hi, so my name is Eleanor Linehan and I am from Lusaka, Zambia, but I am currently living and working in London. I work in publishing at the moment, as well as play rugby, of course.
You said you play rugby. Who do you play for?
So I play for England Deaf and for Tabard Football Rugby Club.
Lovely. So, let's bring it back all the way to the beginning. How and who got you into sport in your the beginning of your childhood?
Well, I've always been interested in sports. So my older sister, Catherine, is an amazing sportswoman, and she is a
Shout out, Catherine.
Yep.
So what does she do?
So she is working in Panama in supply chain and procurement, but she used to run, and she was like the best runner ever, and she'd always inspired me. And so I was like, okay, you know what, I can do this. Yep, so I've just been playing sports since I was like 6 years old. Was
it always rugby, or did you play
Nope.
a big, wide range of sports?
Wide range. So I did water polo, hockey, basketball, netball, did a bit of lacrosse, and rugby has only been very, very recent.
So, considering it's been very recent and you play for England Deaf Rugby team, so you must be a very quick learner.
It appeared so, yes.
So what was your favourite sport growing up in Zambia? Because you listed a wide range of sports there, so did you not really want to take any of those sports to the next level, or...?
Not necessarily. Like, so in Zambia, when I was in junior school, I really enjoyed netball. And then when I went to school in South Africa for high school, I continued with netball and water polo. I mean, no, I just sort of enjoyed the social side of it and the competitive side of it, but it was never something I thought of taking further. Okay. Yeah.
So as you said, you were born in Zambia, and you said you went to school in South Africa.
Yeah.
What age did you move from Zambia to South Africa, and what was growing up in a different country like?
So I went to boarding school in South Africa, so I still lived in Zambia. I just travelled back and forth every term. So it was about 11, 12 years old when I went over to South Africa, and it was amazing. You know, it's such a great country. The people are awesome, and it's just a really good place to grow up.
Did you find it difficult at first, or did you fit in? You thought you fitted in really well?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't struggle at all with sort of moving schools, and I fit in quite easily.
That's good. So, obviously, what sports did you say you took up in secondary school?
So I did water polo, netball, basketball, and hockey.
So did you enjoy all of those sports, or did you force yourself to play that? Or what level did you reach, or was it just in school sports?
So for netball and water polo, I was in the higher team, so I was in second team, and I was more committed to those. For basketball, I was in first team, and I enjoyed that. Hockey, I was in the lower team, so that was just sort of like, again, for the social side of it, and a compulsory sport.
So obviously at the moment you play for England Deaf Rugby, and obviously the key word there is deaf. So what was it like growing up with a hearing impairment? Because obviously many people watching this will not know what it's like. They might have relatives that are maybe deaf, but they probably will not know what it's like. So just tell me what you went through and what was it like growing up with that?
Yeah. So first of all, I have to say that I was very lucky because I had a very supportive family and a very supportive mother who made sure that I was never treated any different. So I always had the best of everything that she could get me.
It's very important, obviously, you need the best, your family around you at all times.
100%. And so I was they only found out I was deaf when I was about 2 years old. And from there, that's when we sort of went to speech therapy. I got hearing aids, I learned how to talk, and I learned how to read lips, because that's my main form of communication. I read lips. So the hearing aids help me to hear what's going on around me, but it's not always clear. So that's why I turned to lip reading. And growing up in Zambia, I've never ever been treated differently. My friends, people around me have always treated me as one of them. And in fact, I forgot I was deaf sometimes because it was never pointed out. Okay. And I mean, I have been very, very fortunate that way, because I know it's not like that for everyone. But growing up, I mean, I had the best support, the best family members, and the best friends. So it was really good.
Was it hard to play sport at first with your hearing impairment?
Okay, so yes, in terms of, you've got lots of people shouting, you've got your spectators shouting. I can't stop and read someone's lips. I can't use my ears, so it's very visual for me. I have to always be looking up. I always have to be looking around.
So that just makes you a better sportswoman?
100%. And so especially for water polo, I take off my hearing aids because they are not waterproof, and I can't be in the water with them, so it's complete silence. And then that would just then obviously I'd have to feel splashing, so like my teammates would splash me if they were close enough and they wanted me to turn around if I got the ball and I could pass to them. And again, just being very visual, always looking. So it was challenging, but
Challenge you overcame with flying colours, I must say.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So obviously water polo, obviously not all sports are in the water, so
yes.
is it easier in the water or out of the water? So if you're playing basketball, for example, how much different would that be?
So I think, basketball, I think it's nice to have sound, because you know what's going on, you're aware. You may not know where the sound is coming from, it may all be mashed up into one loud noise to me, but you feel like you're part of it. With water polo, it could be quite excluding, because, they're cheering, they're shouting, you have no idea what's going on. They blow the whistle, and sometimes I keep playing, because obviously I can't hear the whistle. And that does happen in basketball, netball, and rugby, because again, I can't always hear the whistle, and I'll keep playing. So it can be a little bit embarrassing, but it's just one of those things where, so what?
Is it something you've got used to, or is it...
I struggled at first because, the other team would get angry with me, or they'd laugh. Like, oh, why is she running?
So if they were laughing, how did you cope with that?
I would just sort of, obviously be angry at first, especially when I first started. But then I realised they don't understand that I am deaf. They don't realise that I can't hear the whistle. So now I've taken it upon myself to explain to them. So I tell the captain of the other team before the game, can you tell your team that I might continue playing? I'm not ignoring the whistle, I just didn't hear it. And that really made a difference. It's about educating people so that they understand.
Okay, so that is really interesting actually, because obviously I have no idea what it's like to be in your shoes. So you came to the UK. So before you came to the UK, were you playing any rugby at all?
Never. No rugby at all.
Still no rugby, okay. So when you came to the UK, so when did you come to the UK and why did you come to the UK?
So I came over for university. So my sister before me came over for university as well, and my mother is English, so the plan was always for us to come over here for our higher studies. And so I came over, went to Wales for uni in 2015.
Give out shout outs if you want to people that you like, so feel free.
Well, I mean, I did go to the best university in the entire world, Swansea! I mean, honestly, it was the best 3 years of my life, and the people I met there are just beyond incredible. They really made the whole uni experience, so I have to shout out that.
So as a child, you moved from Zambia to South Africa, and then as a young adult, you moved from South Africa to the UK / Wales.
Yeah.
Did you find it hard to fit in there with your hearing impairment, or
Not
again?
At all.
So
Not at all. I think people make a lot of assumptions. So obviously, as someone who wears hearing aids, when I first meet people, they're going to make a lot of assumptions. Can she talk? Can she hear me? Can she not hear me? How do I talk to her? So it's very important when I meet people, I'm very, hi, my name's Eleanor, how you doing? You know, I'm very confident, I'm very chatty, and that kind of puts other people at ease, like, okay. 'Cause people get a bit nervous around disability for some reason, and it's just about sort of saying to them, listen, this is how I communicate, this is how it works. And so when I came over to the UK, I mean, no one cared, you know? And once I explained how they should communicate to me, they understood, and it was just smooth sailing from there.
That's
Yeah.
wicked. That's wicked.
Yeah.
So obviously you said you didn't get into rugby till quite late. So you came to the UK, and then obviously you're not English, British, and you end up playing for England. So how did you get involved? So go back to the very start when you started playing rugby. So how did you get
Yes.
involved with rugby when you first came to the UK?
Yes. So when I graduated from university, I went back to Zambia for a bit, but then I missed London and I wanted to come back and sort of see what kind of life I could have here. So I came over to London, and one of the first jobs I had was as a bartender at the rugby club in the local area of where I live. And the bar manager, when he came to offer me the job, he mentioned that the rugby club had a women's team and tryouts were happening very, very soon. And he recommended, oh, you should go try out. And I remember being like, no,
So what were you thinking when you said try out? What were you thinking? What was going through your mind at the time?
no. I'm a small girl. I'm not, like, when I think of rugby, you know, I would think of like big guys, you know, running into each other, hurting each other. So my first initial thought was like, no, thank you. Like, no. But I panicked and was like, yes, I would love to try out. And went to my first training session. So that would have been like August, September 2019. And I remember it was cold. Because remember, I just moved over from Zambia. So obviously I had no experience with rugby. I never played it at school. I didn't play it at university. And now sort of, you know, starting the next chapter in my life in the working world. And I was like, okay, you know, it would be good to have a social aspect of it. So I went along to the tryout session. It was miserable. I was cold. I didn't know anyone. It hurt. And I mean, the girls were lovely, you know. They were just great. But I think I committed for like 3 weeks. And then I said to myself, no, you know, I can't do this. You know, it's dark, it's cold, it hurts. I'm just not enjoying this.
So what was the switch in your head to decide to stay?
So we had a training session where we had like a practice game against another team in a different area. And it was like sort of like our first proper match. And I remember being very nervous, like, oh my gosh, like, you know, we're going to get tackled properly, we're going to have to like run, you're going to have to hit the ball, you're going to have to throw, you're going to have to catch. And I was stressing out. But I did this amazing play where one of the girls, so I was on the wing, because that's like my main position, so I was on the right. And one of the girls threw the ball to me, and I was right by the line, and it went too far out. But I managed to grab it, put it in so smoothly, stepped one of the girls, and went straight for the try line, put the ball down, scored a try. And I said to myself, hang on, that actually wasn't that bad. I can do this. And it was a complete change around for me. And I really enjoyed it.
So you scoring that try was the main confidence booster, and you saying to yourself,
100%.
oh, I've got the confidence in my own ability
Yes.
that I can play rugby.
Yes.
So that's wicked. So transitioning from that, so did you stay long? Are you still at that club?
Yes, so I'm still with Tabard, and yeah.
So what was the transition? How did you get into the England Deaf Rugby setup and that?
Yeah. Okay, so I'd been playing, so August, September, October. I've been playing for about 2.5 months with Tabard, and we had a match against Royston ladies, and they have a player who also plays for England Deaf. So she's similar, she's hard of hearing, that's her local rugby team, but she also plays internationally for England Deaf. And she must have liked how I played, so she got in contact with my captain, who gave me her contact details, and I contacted the England Deaf organisation. I got invited to a training session sort of October, November.
So just before that training session, just before that training session, how were you feeling? What was going through your mind, and what were you thinking just before you had that training session?
Which one? Oh, the England Deaf one.
Yeah.
You know, I was nervous because, you know, this is just, I'm going to be surrounded by other deaf people, which has never really happened before. Usually I'm the only sort of deaf person in the room, in my friendship group, in my life. And so it was an experience, you know, thinking, okay, I'm going to be surrounded by other deaf people who have similar life experiences to me, which has never happened before. And so I was excited and nervous, of course, because, you know, these are incredible international rugby players who just sounded amazing. So I was excited, but also a little bit nervous.
So how did your first training session go? Would you say you did well? Would you say the nerves took over upon you? Or just tell me what happened during that first training session?
So first of all, the ladies were so welcoming, so it was very difficult for me to feel a bit nervous because they, you know, accepted me as one of their own very quickly. There was lots of conversation flowing. So obviously I worked hard because I wanted to impress. Bearing in mind, I'd only been playing rugby for 2 months, 2.5 months.
Wow, okay.
So I was nervous, but I mean, I sort of had my other skills.
Or were you going into the training session with like no fear, I can do anything? Or were you thinking, I'm still new, or because you're still quite raw at that point?
100%. You know, I was going in being like, okay, I have my speed, I can catch a ball, I have some knowledge of the game, but I'm just going to have to play on my strengths and sort of like my weaknesses. It's just something I'm going to have to build upon. Yeah.
Did you find yourself managing to fit in, as in with your ability? Or did you find yourself a little bit out of depth at the start, but then if the training session went on, did you find yourself getting there and I feel comfortable now, or I don't really feel comfortable yet?
For sure. So when I first started, so obviously these girls have been playing for years and years and they're just so talented. So me coming in as a newcomer, my ball skills weren't 100%. So I did, but by the end of the training session, you know, I had some points to work on, I had some new skills to practice. And I mean, that's just what it's about, really, just practicing, training, and then you get better. So every training session, I got more confident. I obviously practicing while training with my local club, you know, just get more skilled, get more confident, and just build on from there.
Lovely. So when obviously you play for your club.
Yes.
And you play for England.
Yes.
What is it like as someone from Zambia and South Africa playing for England? What's that like? Do you still feel really proud that you put on the shirt?
Yes.
Or just tell me what you think.
You know, it's amazing. So obviously I do have, like, by heritage, I am English because of my mother. She is from here. She grew up here. And it's an honour. You know, I am very grateful and honoured to be able to play for England.
I can see you brought an England shirt. Would you like to just show the camera
Of course.
your lovely England shirt? Oh, that's nice.
I know. Nice polo shirt.
It is nice. It is a great shirt. So yeah, just also obviously you play for, as I said, Tabard and England. How is that playing for both? And do you still enjoy it when you just started, or just tell me what you?
So, luckily they don't often clash, so that's really important. So it's really good with Tabard because we meet every Wednesday evening for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and that's a really good way for me to train because with England Deaf, we meet once a month, either for a training session, an international game or a community game. So with Tabard, playing games on Sundays and having trainings on Wednesday, you know, it's a good way to train.
Keeps you sharp and fit and ready to go for England.
Yes, and you know, I love it. I mean, not tired of it at all. And you know, Tabard is a really good club. Like, I love the girls, and you know, it was really good for me to, you know, I kind of moved to a new town. I didn't know anyone, so it was a really good way to meet new people, make new friends. Yeah.
How different is it to play for a deaf team and a non-deaf team? So how different is that?
So, you know, everything's the same. I think, and there is no difference because the Tabard team are so, they make sure that I know what's going on. And so my captain, LJ, she'll always make sure,
Big up LJ.
Yes.
Shout her out.
Thank you, LJ. So she's our captain, manager, and basically just OG of the whole team.
Okay.
She's just fantastic. And she'd always make sure, okay, the refs, I'll also speak to the refs before the game. So I'm hard of hearing. You may blow the whistle. I'll carry on running. I am not ignoring you. I just didn't hear you.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's been once or twice where I've gotten the ball and I'll run and I'll be like, oh my God, no one's chasing me. I'm going to nail this. I get to the try line, put the ball down, and I'm like, yes, I've scored a try. And everyone's just chilling down by the halfway line. And they're like, oh no, he blew the whistle a while back. Oh. And I'm like, that's not embarrassing at all. But, they make sure that, if I need any extra help or support, I can ask for it. Like, I never feel like I can't ask for it. And then obviously with England Deaf, it's known, everyone here is hard of hearing. So if there's extra support, they have it. If there's, the refs know, everyone's aware. So, I mean, I wouldn't say there's much different. They both have the same level of support.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everyone's different, as in obviously story-wise of how they got into England Deaf Rugby,
Yes.
for example. So how does the England Deaf setup work? How do you get called up to be in the England Deaf team?
So you basically, like I said, we have a training session. So that's like once a month. So from those training sessions, that's why it's so important to work hard during those sessions, because that's where our managers and captains can have a look, see where we are, see who they want to pull in for starting 15 or starting 7. So that's basically just how it works. It's the training sessions.
Do you play 15s and 7s?
Yes.
Yes. Which do you prefer?
15. 7s is obviously quicker, and
But you got the speed, no?
I do. But it is tiring, and I like the contact. So there's contact in 7, but not as much as 15s.
So you wing in 7s and 15s?
Yes, so I alternate between wing and fullback.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I like 15s. I can do 7, but 15, I like the extra support.
So, obviously we went off on a little tangent there, so just come back to how people get called up for the England Deaf Rugby. So, obviously you got called up by another captain of another team coming to you. So how would, obviously that's not like the textbook way. No. So how would be the textbook way? Imagine I'm a great rugby player and I'm deaf. So if I don't know anyone in that kind of setup, so how would I get called up if I was really good?
But obviously it's just all about word of mouth and sort of just, because I didn't even know there was a deaf rugby team.
Right.
I didn't know until this happened. So it's just one of those things where if we're aware that there's other deaf players who play rugby and they want to take it further, we kind of, they sort of get recommended, or not even recommended, just sort of the England Deaf Rugby team get told, we have this person, then we say, okay, great. Invite them along for a training session and just sort of develop from there, help develop their skills and just, help build them up.
So when you got called up for the first time, obviously you had training first. What was it like knowing that you were going to play in the game? So what was going through your mind? For example, the night before, you're in the squad. Yeah. The night before, what's going through your mind? The game.
The first game that we played was a community game. So we had a training session around let's say November 2019, and then a game a month later. So I was subbed in. I wasn't starting 15, which is perfectly understandable because I'm new. And so obviously, I put on the England shirt. I was like, this is very surreal. This isn't actually happening. Very nervous, of course, because you have I had a standard to meet, and
so when you were on the bench,
yes,
did you think you would come on?
Honestly, no.
So when the manager comes up to you and thinks, Eleanor, come here, and you're coming on, what's going through your mind?
Are you sure? Do you want to rethink that? Do you want to? But then I can't. It's one of those things you have to get on the field and just do it, and I did. And I scored my first England Deaf try. Nice. First game, first try.
Debut try.
Nice. So that was amazing.
So you scored on your debut for England.
My first try I scored for Tabard actually was very, very, very embarrassing because I was on the wing, I got the ball, I'm running. I get down to the try line, I'm like, I'm gonna be cool, and I dive. But I dived with the ball on my stomach.
Ooh.
I landed and I winded myself and I couldn't breathe. So I'm there rolling on the ground, tears streaming down my face, panicking, call an ambulance, I can't breathe. And everyone else is just like, it's okay. You just winded yourself, calm down. And I'm like, I'm not gonna make it. So
At least you scored a try. Imagine you didn't score that try, and then imagine you went to the line before, like the 5 metre line, and you put the ball down. Yeah, that would be even worse. So obviously, playing for any team there's great camaraderie in the team, but obviously you play for England. So what's that like in the dressing room, like the night before a game, in just the England camp? What is that like?
it's amazing. So we have a very good group of organisers and supporters. So everything in our changing rooms, we have our names, we have our shirts, we have all sort of like our training kit, everything all set up. We've got some music playing. Obviously that didn't do anything for me, but some of the other girls, they enjoy the music. So, and it's just, everyone just there being very supportive, just being very chatty, and just being very encouraging, and it's a really good atmosphere,
So do the girls team and the women's team, and the men's team, do they mix together?
Yes, so with the England Deaf men's, we have games often on the same day, but obviously different times,
Yeah.
but it's always done together. So if it's an overnight game we'll stay in the same place, we'll have food together, and it's just, we're very close, which is very good, of course.
So what do you enjoy the most about playing for England Deaf Rugby?
I think it's just the honour of putting on that England shirt and being able to step on the field and play for England, and as well as the girls in the team. They're just an amazing mix of people. You've got mothers, there's no age range. You've got 18-year-olds up to their late 40s, and that is just the beauty of the game. Just anyone can play, gender, race, disability, and that's just really enforced with England Deaf, and it's amazing.
That's wicked. Do you feel like a pressure when you put on the England shirt, or now that you're kind of used to it, do you feel calm and relaxed, or do you still feel that pressure?
I think I'm always going to feel that pressure, because even though I have the support and I'm excited, it's nerve-wracking, because it's like you want to play well for your team, you want to do your best. So it's a bit of both. Being nervous putting on the shirt, but also feeling really excited and ready to go.
I guess it's a good thing if you have a little bit of nervous energy. That means you care enough that you're nervous and you want to do well.
Yes.
So, speaking of that, what has been your best moment in an England Deaf Rugby shirt?
I would say, so we had a international game against Wales. So we played against the Wales Deaf ladies, and they're one of their props.
Is this 15 aside or 7 aside?
This would have been 7-a-side.
Okay.
Is that the game you guys came to watch? Was that 7-a-side?
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of their props came around onto my side on the wing, and she was much bigger than me in size, and I was able to take her down.
Ooh,
and
nice.
For me, it was just like, it was amazing, because she had made it through a few players, and I was sort of the last person there, and I think it was just, I got her down, and I was very, very impressed with myself. So I think for me, first of all, getting my first international cap with England Deaf, playing against Wales, that was amazing. But then, of course, taking down one of their players was also amazing.
That's wicked. Do you actually get a cap?
Actually, yep, got a cap.
That's
Got a cap.
wicked. That's so good. So, you said you got you train every once a month,
Yes.
for example. Have you got anything lined up with England Deaf
Yes.
Rugby coming up?
Yes, we have a training session next Saturday, up north. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. And then in April, we have an overnight session and a potential game. No details about it yet, but I'm very much looking forward to it.
So I think that covers about everything I've had to ask you today. So thank you so much, Eleanor, for joining me on the Chinwag podcast today.
Yeah.
So before we finish, is there anything that you would like to plug, like promote, like your Instagram or whatever? So look into the camera and tell them what your Instagram is and tell them to follow you.
My Instagram is at Eleanor Linehan. So if you want some great content, hit me up and follow me on there.
Lovely stuff. So thank you again for joining me on the Chinwag podcast this afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me. It is amazing to be on this brilliant podcast, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much. If you did enjoy that podcast, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to my channel. Follow Eleanor on Instagram, subscribe to my channel as I said, and I'll see you later for more.
Bye.
Wicked.
Oh my god. Oh, that was awesome. Yeah, I love that.